Junior Day was an incredible success. Jimmy's got two big names on the roster countdown, and Alabama suffers a beatdown in Gainesville.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. We'll talk about Mazda in just a little bit. Want to thank you every day for joining us every day, because you know what? You help make Locked On the number one sports podcast network there is, which is incredible. And, we appreciate you. So we're going to talk about the quarterback battle coming up, and it's going to be the battle of the rankings when it comes to Jimmy Stein, talking about him here in the second segment. But, Jimmy, I do want to talk about the Junior Day. We thought that it was a success yesterday. There's more reports coming out that it was even a bigger success than we could have imagined. And I'm very, very happy with the results. Elijah Haven had a blast. He did go to Auburn the next day. I personally, based on what I've been reading, I don't believe Auburn is a major factor. I think that is still Alabama's battle here. Of course, John Meredith was there. He seemed to have a great time. Texas A&M is right there on the leaderboard along with Alabama. And Monshun Sales, he said, look, Alabama was everything I wanted them to be. So I feel very good about Monshun Sales, number one receiver in the country. Mitchell Turner, a defensive lineman out of Mississippi. Donovan Moore, who is from Alabama, but it looks like Auburn probably leads right there. Antoine Jackson, Jabarius Chicken-Guerrer, Nehemiah McCrary, who we've talked about in the past, plays for Maplesville, a youngster. He's not even in next year's class. So a lot of big names seem to have a big time this weekend in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, my main takeaway, there's a lot of guys visiting, but to me, so much of it was about Elijah Haven and Monshun Sales. A quarterback and a receiver that are the best in the country at their positions. That's super exciting. That I think it's fair to say that Alabama is the leader for both. That's not really a secret. That's been the situation for a while, and then they leave the visit with Alabama still in the lead. Now, it'd be easy to just put them down and say, hey, they're going to be part of this class. They're so highly regarded and highly rated, and obviously there's big dollars involved when you're talking about players of this magnitude. For reasons like that, I'm not going to get ahead of myself there. I'm just going to say that it's clear that Alabama is a leader, that Alabama is a major player in this. And how huge would it be on the heels of signing, the fourth or fifth highest rated class, that you come back the next year and get a 5-star quarterback, a 5-star receiver, just out of the gate, basically. Huge. Just this staff, now that you're going into year 3 of it, Luke, I agree that they're with any critic that says, they've lost games they shouldn't. The program's not winning enough on the field to satisfy some fans. I get that 100%. The transfer portal recruiting in this past cycle was disappointing to many. I get it. I do. But here's something you cannot question. High school recruiting, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. They're elite. Hey, there's 135 teams. There's about 66 Power 5 teams. When you're signing top 5 class, there's no other word but elite. They're elite, and when it comes to this, and I know that's not the whole shooting match. It shouldn't be, but man, are they good at this?
They are, and happy to be good in recruiting. Look, as I talked about the other day, a guy told me, "Hey, it's about roster retention or portal or high school recruiting." And he was like, I'm worried that high school recruiting is the least important of them all. Number one, I don't agree. But number two, I'd rather be really good at one than not good at any of them. So one thing that also happened that I thought was interesting, Barack Willis and Jatori Williams did not make it in. These are two guys that were once committed to Alabama. Jatori Williams from Central Phoenix City and Barack Willis from Moody. It's a little telling. I would guess that those ships have sailed which is not uncommon for this staff. A lot of times somebody decommits from this staff, they tend to move on. Now, that may be coincidence and it may be saving face. I can't say for sure, but my guess is Williams and Willis won't be a part of this class.
That would be my guess today. That would be it's still a little early for me to just write it off, just like it's early for me to say, hey, just write down Haven and Sales to be part of this group. It's a little too early for me to say, hey, Barack Willis isn't going to happen. Jatori isn't going to happen. I agree with you that it's unlikely to happen. Just based on how this staff has operated in the past, you're also going to, it's so early in the process, there's other targets to focus on. So, and you're probably signing, we're coming off a year where you're bringing in, 5 high school offensive linemen signed in the last class, 5. I don't know that you're going to sign 5 again. I would think you're going to sign something like 4 is a guess for me in terms of and I'm not counting depth guys. They might take a depth guy or two, a 2-star to fill out the room or something, to fill out the 105. But in terms of who you're recruiting to be part of, let's use this phrase, the old 85, filling out the old 85 scholarship. I think they'll sign maybe 4. And there's a lot of targets early on. So I don't know that those 2 would be at the top of the target board based on the relationship so far. But that said, it's just too early to know.
Yeah. Okay. So of this group, and a lot of them had glowing reports, who do you think would be the first to commit?
Boy, that's a great question. I'm going to, this is a stab in the dark. I'm going to go Mitchell Turner from Louisville, Mississippi. And that's a stab in the dark. He's not ranked too highly yet, but anyone that's making too much of rankings at this point is just not fully understanding the process. I mean, it's a year-long process or longer. So let's see where he ends up ranked. I think people might be surprised. To me, watching the tape, he's a top 150 guy to me nationally, and he's not nowhere. You won't find him in the top 150 right now. He should be. I mean, and I think that he will as the process moves along. I would guess him, but it probably would have been a safer pick to go with one of the in-state guys. But I'm going to say Mitchell Turner seems to like Alabama a lot. They like him a lot, and so I would say him. But I was tempted to say Elijah Haven and Monshun Sales.
Dang it. Why'd you keep talking? I was going to go Elijah Haven.
You're going to go Elijah Haven? Now, Elijah mentioned that, who knows if this is, gospel or is definitely going to happen. But he mentioned as part of his Auburn visit that he would like to see Auburn spring game. So if he commits before Auburn spring game, it sounds like he might still be taking visits. But he doesn't have a firm commitment date. There was a talk at one point he would be an early committer. He doesn't have a set commitment date right now, but Alabama leads, and hey, it could happen. And man, if that happens, see, you already got Trent Seaborn helping recruit this class. If you had a 5-star quarterback, quarterbacks are infamous or famous for helping recruit out the rest of the class. And man, if you add Elijah Haven as a recruiter to go along with Trent Seaborn, who burns up the phones, man, that would be a great shot in the arm.
Trent Seaborn really does burn up the phones. He's gumptastic. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
He's a major gump. He's a bigger gump than us. He'll probably have a bigger podcast than us.
Boy, if he has a podcast, he will. That goes for anybody. Well, Jimmy, we've been talking about Trent Seaborn and Elijah Haven as a potential Alabama duo in the future. We're going to talk about the potential duo in the present and who's leading next. But right now, I want to tell you about FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. It's this coming Sunday, Super Bowl. One last kickoff, one final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it all with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. It's where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to kick off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, Just bet $5 and get 200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count. Y'all go make it count. Make every day count. Because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sports book partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Jimmy Stein guarantee. So all the rage, all the talk, everything in the spring is going to be centered around Austin Mack and Keelon Russell, and they just happen to be the next two on your roster ranking. And I think you are being very politically correct in putting them right next to each other. And I bet you say something, I could easily have flip-flopped these two. I bet that's what you did.
Yeah, sure. Because, and this is the reason. Now, I put Austin Mack at 39 and put Keelon Russell at 38. So I've got Keelon one spot ahead, which signifies a prediction that I have that Keelon Russell ultimately wins the quarterback job. That's a prediction. I find it's weird for me to say that because unlike most, I think most people predict it that way. Most people are saying, hey, Keelon Russell's going to win this job. That's what most say. I am in the minority in this sense. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Austin Mack is going to put up a heck of a battle here, and I'm not going to be surprised even if it extends through the spring into fall camp, maybe even into the games. I mean, that's how close I think it's going to be. But I do ultimately believe Keelon will win the job as of today. We have a whole spring practice, though, to go, and a whole lot can happen here. I'm high on both. Now, I do have them down here at 39 and 38. Why is that? Because that's pretty low, right? Well, that's because this roster ranking is based on what we've seen at Alabama. It has nothing to do with who was a 5-star, who was a 4-star, who came from Washington, who was the number one quarterback out of high school. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what we've seen at Alabama. I don't have them near the bottom because we've seen them both play, and they've both been impressive. Keelon, in his limited playing time, was impressive. Keelon on the practice field, I've seen that. Impressive. Austin Mack, I thought, was fairly good in the second half against Indiana, and I'm saying fairly good in the sense that he did move the team a little better than injured Ty was, and he flashed some of the ability. Now, here's the thing for me, Luke, and this is for the pessimists and the optimists out there both. I think the question with Austin Mack is ceiling. How good is he? What kind of ceiling does he have? That's the question that's in part going to be answered this spring and this fall. How good is he? How good can he be? That's a question. I think a pessimist might say, well, he wasn't highly ranked and he's been in college 3 years and we hadn't seen much and he's going to get beat out by this younger kid. And so I don't think his ceiling's very high. Where an optimist would say, well, look at the size. He looks like he's made in the lab. He's got a good arm. His intangibles are through the roof. He's going into year 4 of his college career. Boy, who just recently went to his year 4 at Alabama and showed out at quarterback, Ty Simpson. So an optimist can look at that. With Keelon, it's a different question. I think we know what the ceiling is with him because we know his game so well as being a highly recruited player. With Keelon, the question's different. With Keelon, the question is he ready? Is he ready to be a starting quarterback in the SEC? Because being talented and being ready are not the same. Is he ready? We're going to find that out this spring and fall. I think a pessimist would go, year 2, how many year 2 quarterbacks are ready? Not a lot. That's correct. That's a correct statement. But an optimist might say, gosh, I don't know. This kid looks comparable to Bryce. He looks comparable to Tua. Guess what? They were ready in year 2. They were ready to win in this league, and they won big in their year 2s. And Keelon seems to be potentially as gifted as those 2 kids. So I think there's a lot here for the pessimists and a lot here for the optimists, both. But I'm going to predict that Keelon ultimately wins the job and is really good. And Keelon doesn't win the job. Is that bad news? No, it probably means Austin Mack is on the verge of having a Ty Simpson type year 4.
I'm also going to say Keelon Russell wins. I am about 0 for 30 since we've been doing this podcast about who's going to ultimately be the starter, though. So, I mean, you can look at that optimistically or pessimistically. You can say, hey, Luke's really bad at this and he misses them all. Or you can say the Washington Generals are going to beat the Harlem Globetrotters at least one time. So, I'm looking at their stats from last year. Austin Mack, 24 of 32, which is a fantastic percentage. 228 yards with 2 TDs. Keelon Russell, only 11 completions on only 15 attempts, but 143 yards and also 2 touchdowns. I don't think what we've seen makes me think one is better than the other than if you have a gut feeling. And we know those gut feelings can be gas. But I'm going to say from what I've seen, the very little that's been out there, and maybe I'm biased by the fact that, yes, I have seen a lot more of Keelon Russell in terms of highlights from his high school time. I've never gone back and looked up Austin Mack from his high school time. I don't know. I mean, maybe I shouldn't admit that as somebody who does an Alabama podcast, but I've never gone back and looked because, frankly, I've been of the opinion that eventually Keelon Russell's going to win this no matter what happens. So there's really not a lot of sense in going back. Maybe I should. Maybe it would make me feel a lot better about Austin Mack's chances winning this particular job. But I think right now, I'm like you. I'm leaning Keelon Russell. The other thing that stands out to me and makes me want to vomit in terror is the fact that both of these guys are less than 500 yards away in terms of being Alabama's leading rusher this past year. And one of them has 22 yards and one of them has 17 yards. That is frightening.
If you don't run the ball better, you're just putting too much. I mean, here's the thing. There's a million reasons that Alabama's got to run the ball better this year, but it starts with this. You're going to have a brand new starter at quarterback, whether it's Austin or Keelon, and you can't put the whole offense on them. It's not fair. It's not right. It's a recipe for disaster. What did we say last year? And it proved 100% true. We said it all season, and it proved 100% true. At some point, the inability to run the ball means there is a limit to what the team can accomplish. Now, remarkably, Ty Simpson and the defense got them all the way to the playoff and even all the way to the quarterfinals of the playoff before ultimately the ceiling proved to be right there. But it did ultimately prove to have a ceiling, and it comes back to just the inability to run the ball and putting it all on Ty. And then it was all on Ty as he had a bursa sac injury in his elbow, a bad back, cracked ribs, and the offense is all on him. That means no offense at that point because he's just inability to perform due to the injuries.
And here's another thing. I believe that a running game is even more important. I mean, it was super important last year. We just didn't have one. But I think it's even more important this year with an inexperienced quarterback. You have no Jeremy Bernard to bail you out. Now, Jerem, towards the end of the season, his stats seem to fall off. But you have no Jerem to bail you out, which is what he was doing sometimes. By the way, he was 2 of 2 as a quarterback this year. He also was our 5th leading rusher. So, yeah, that's also a problem.
He's probably the best tailback on the team, honestly.
Yeah.
I've said that a couple times kind of jokingly, but I wasn't really joking.
Yeah, it's not really a joke. Well, it's a joke, but not ha-ha funny. Then you've got Isaiah Horton is gone. Josh Cuevas is gone, who also was probably, when he was healthy, was your second bailout guy because you couldn't depend on Ryan this year. I'm hoping you can depend on Ryan next year, but you couldn't depend on him this year. Yeah, it's going to be even more important, and with an all-new offensive line. So, yeah, it's the running game is more important than it was last year, and it was super important last year. It's a miracle we won what we did looking back based on the fact that we couldn't run the football. Now, that's probably our fault, but I'm just saying that it is a miracle to have won those games.
No, it is. I mean, I think on the one hand, you have to commend the staff and Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer for winning your way into the playoff and winning a playoff game without a run game. And the one hand is good coaching. On the other hand, it's why can't you run the ball? I mean, that's a fair question too. And hey, they're working on it. I thought, again, if you look at the fact that they spent so much of the focus on the offensive line, the hire that, they fired the offensive line coach. They obviously tried. They took some swings at a difference-making running back in the portal. It's clearly being emphasized, but now you've got to emphasize it on the practice field. That starts literally 5 weeks from today. Can you believe it? 35 days, and we'll be practicing. The 2026 football team will be on the practice field. Keep in mind, this is like the whole team. It's not like the old spring practices when, the rest of the team's going to get here this summer. They're only missing like 4 guys. I mean, so this is the 2026 team will be on the field 5 weeks from today.
Well, and if the basketball team doesn't start playing any better, we're going to be longing for those 5 weeks because that was rough yesterday. Now we're going to talk a little Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, who moved it yesterday? Aiden Holloway. I mean, he had 19 points. I guess he moved it forward. I was hoping ABC would move it forward and fast forward to the end of that game yesterday. But Aiden Holloway did remind us what it takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit, unless you're losing by 23 on the road. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Then there's more to Alabama basketball. And hopefully we'll see it relatively soon. So the basketball team took it on the chin yesterday. One thing
we got it right, though. We did predict that Florida. We got it right. We did predict Florida.
We missed it. We missed the score by a wide margin, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that I said when Charles Bediako came back, I said that I'm for it. I think it's worth a shot. I think the juice is worth the squeeze. Let's see what happens. We're in the wild, wild west. So what if we're the guinea pig? And if it doesn't work out and Charles Bediako is ineligible, he's ineligible. Okay. But I said the one thing that worries me is I've been watching Baylor a little bit, and it seems like ever since they've gotten this new guy in, their chemistry has been thrown off. I'm wondering if our chemistry is thrown off. Is our chemistry thrown off, or is it that Tennessee has had our number, Florida's had our number? Also, Florida is an incredibly good team and defending national champ, and they were very motivated. I thought Florida had a shot to lose. Honestly, I really believe this because I bet on Auburn, frankly, when Auburn played them on the road. I thought Alabama or Auburn had a shot to beat Florida on the road because I thought they'd take one of them very lightly, at least, and the other one was probably in trouble. And when Florida won on the road, I was very concerned. I mean, Auburn won on the road at Florida. I was very concerned because I was like, they're not losing to Alabama and Auburn at home. They're just not doing it. And, of course, they didn't. A lot to be upset about from that game. The effort didn't seem to be there. That Florida had one possession where, like, their biggest guy on the court guarded every position, it seemed like, of our guys and just hounded them. And we just couldn't get anything going. So, yes, am I concerned that maybe the Bediako thing is affecting chemistry? Yes, I am concerned about it. I'm not throwing in the towel on this season yet. I'm also going to say this, that maybe just like because Auburn went on the road and beat Florida at Florida, and that seemed to light a fire under them, maybe the fact that Bediako's taken so much heck, and you know, I got to give Florida fans credit because G League dropout chant was funny. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was funny. And then there was also a tweet from, I think an Auburn fan said something like, Charles Bediako is now applied to go back to high school, which also is funny. I'm not going to lie, I laughed. I wish it wasn't us, but I did. I laughed. So I'm wondering if maybe, I think two things can happen. Either Charles is going to go in even more into a hole and like get upset about this and sort of reevaluate, was this even worth it kind of thing, and then mentally sort of check out, or it's going to piss him off and it's going to piss some of the other players off. And they're going to be like, you know what? This is our guy. We can't stand by and let everybody just throw darts at him all the time. We need to pick our game up. I think the other good news, if you're pro Bediako coming back, that what you can say is, hey, just because you played in the G League for a little bit doesn't mean you're going to come in and dominate. He has not come in and dominated. He's been fine. He's been put up nice numbers. I mean, nothing crazy. 7 rebounds, 6 points, 4 blocks. That's not bad at Florida. But he ain't taking the game over, and it certainly doesn't make Alabama unbeatable. So you could argue, hey, was this really worth it because Alabama's 1-2 since he's been back? Or you could say, hey, this doesn't really hurt anybody, and this is fine. And I'm taking the latter rather than the former.
Well, if he was a completely dominant big guy, then he wouldn't be at Alabama right now. He'd be in the NBA. I mean, he would have played his way into the NBA from the G League, like many others have done. Many players do that, and Charles, obviously, in 3 years, had yet to play his way to the NBA. So I think the idea that he was going to show up and be a completely dominant player, I don't know who would have expected that. I didn't. I do think that Charles, in many ways, has improved the team. I think on the one hand, there's a tremendous overreaction to yesterday. To me, it was like sometimes you go on the road and run into a buzzsaw. Florida may be the best team in the country. That sounds nuts to some. What nuts last year? This Florida team's really good. I know they lost at home to Auburn. They're not perfect. They also lost games last year. Know what they did? After they lost games, they got better and won the national championship. I won't be shocked if they do that again. That's how good they are. And for those that say, no, if you're a good team, you don't go on the road and get blown out. Well, I'll tell you one Alabama team that went on the road or away from home and got blown out by, it wasn't 23 points. It was 22 points. Florida last year beat Alabama by 22 points. It was the last time Alabama didn't lose again until they lost to Duke in the Elite Eight. So, or if we're like, no, well, last night, what about those that might say, no, yesterday was proof this just isn't a Final Four team? Well, I don't know, because Alabama made it the Final Four 2 years ago. Guess what? They lost on the road to Kentucky by 22 during their Final Four year. So it's an overreaction to one game. Now, that said, here's what's not an overreaction. I felt before the season, looking at this roster, that this team wasn't as good as the last couple. And I didn't think there would be a Final Four and Elite Eight. I said on the show, I think Sweet 16 is probably a ceiling for this group. I didn't say they would make it to Sweet 16. I said, I think that's about as far as this roster is going to get. And so I didn't have the Final Four. I think a lot of people that are reacting are like, this doesn't look like a national title contender. I never thought that it was. So maybe that's why I'm not overreacting myself. I just think it's a flawed roster, but flawed in this sense, flawed in terms of winning it all. It's not flawed. Alabama is still one of the better teams in the country, and I still believe they're going to make the NCAA tournament and be dangerous when they get there and maybe win a game or two in the tournament. I really believe that. Now, are they going to make an Elite Eight 3 years in a row? Yesterday didn't prove that to me. I didn't feel like they were that team anyway. Then throw in all the injury problems. I didn't even know that would happen before the year. I thought health-wise, good health, that there was a limited ceiling that the roster had. But that said, they're still a very good team, and I think they're going to play better against A&M on Wednesday. And A&M is a really good basketball team, obviously. I expect to see Alabama. As a matter of fact, I'm going to predict that they beat Texas A&M, which is a heck of a thing to say. I think they will.
I don't know if I'm going to predict they beat them just yet. I want to get a better feel. I'm going to try to talk to some people about practice and the mood before Wednesday. But this A&M team is very good. They're leading the SEC, and Bucky ball is in full effect. I mean, have they played the most difficult schedule you've ever seen? No, but that doesn't matter. When you watch them play, you're like, those guys are good. I mean, they're really good.
They're crazy good.
They went to Georgia and just handled business. And every time Georgia made a run, A&M made one back. They played like Mountain Brook played when Bucky was coaching them. I mean, they are an incredibly good team. I thank the good Lord that Auburn hired Stephen Pearl instead of Bucky McMillan. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to face him.
Couldn't agree.
I wish nobody
shot at Stephen Pearl, but I am.
Yeah, that's not a shot at Stephen Pearl.
I'm zero surprised Bucky's having the success. Zero.
I'm surprised he's having this level of success.
Well, maybe I'm a little surprised that he comes out of the gate 6-1 or 7-1 in the SEC. Now, I didn't say I saw that coming, but Bucky being really good at A&M, not shocked at all.
Yeah, I thought he'd be an eventual, not right now. And so, I was hoping eventually I want Nate Oats as long as Nate Oats wants to be here. But I was thinking, hey, if Nate Oats ever leaves, Bucky's right there. Bucky spent some time at Bama. He's a Bama guy, but I mean, look, but Texas A&M is benefiting from taking a shot on a kid from Samford, and it's working out. And I'm like you. I think we have a shot to win Wednesday. I'm not going to predict it just yet. It would really be great. Boy, Captain Obvious chiming in. It'd really be great if Alabama won these next two. Win at home against A&M, the leading team in the SEC, and then go on the road and win at Auburn, which I think they can do. I mean, Auburn is very good and very good at home, especially in the second half. I mean, in the second half, Keyshawn Hall, it seems, either has an incredible first half or a second half every time. And I don't know that we're going to be able to stop him. Nobody really has been. So I don't know that that's going to be our thing, but we got to make sure other people don't kill us. And we're going to have to be locked in for that game. Auburn was playing incredibly well, and I think they even played well against Tennessee for the most part. They kept that game close enough to where it was a thing towards the end. But I think maybe Auburn's coming off a bit of a high. Maybe, we've hit our bottom. I'm hoping we've hit bottom, and we can start the bounce back. Right now, I'm going to say at best Alabama goes 1-1, and I just hope Alabama cannot go 0-2. Woo, they can't go 0-2.
Well, the fan reaction would be bad. If they do go 0-2, I'm drive people crazy, I'm sure, when I say it, but I'll be, who did they lose? Losing at Florida and at Auburn does not mean your team stinks.
No, but it ain't that. You ain't going to be able to tell people that.
No. But it doesn't mean that. It just means that winning on the road in the SEC is difficult, and that Alabama this season is probably more like a 10-8 SEC team. And I guess a lot of people had their expectations set at 13-5. I did not, so I guess that's why it's a little easier for me to take. But that said, I still think this team's capable of quite a lot. And again, I do think they'll beat A&M. And they're not going to get blown out at Auburn. I consider the Auburn game tougher to win just simply because it's on the road.
Oh, yeah.
I think A&M is a better team than Auburn.
And Auburn's coming off they'll have a bye this week, until they get up. So is that good or bad? I mean, it's hard to tell, but I would say it's probably a good thing for them.
Probably rest some bumps and bruises.
Does Auburn have bumps and bruises?
I said it's probably, when you have the bye, I don't think that you get an advantage of extra days to prepare for an opponent, but I think the real advantage comes in resting bumps and bruises because everybody's going to have them.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.